I've always been anticipating and looking forward to that day when I'll get number one, many number ones and so on, because I realize the work that I have must go on. And so we'll move from strength to strength. And I think that number ones and all that are all a part of the whole scheme. Seeing?
Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. By 1995, the great Jefta McClymont, aka Luciano, aka Jam Messenger, had emerged as the hottest reggae artist in Jamaica and indeed Jazz Green Earth. It had been 3 years since he joined Exterminator Records and became the arrowhead of a movement that was committed to dragging reggae back from the depths of slackness back to the glory days of uplifting music, spirituality, and social consciousness. Endowed with a lush baritone voice and silky smooth singing style that was modeled after his idol Dennis Brown's, his uplifting anthems like Lord Give Me Strength and It's Me Again Jah would resonate heavily with reggae fans across the globe, and he was suddenly in heavy demand for collaborations overseas. One person who was very eager to work with him was famous American actor, comedian and musician Eddie Murphy. Eddie had a serious love for reggae music and had done a song with Shabba Ranks 2 years earlier called I Was a King. But in a very shocking twist, Luciano's manager and producer Philip Fatis Burrell would sabotage that prospect, and in what became a recurring practice, held Luciano back from similar collaborations and big opportunities until he left that label a few years later after constant clashes with Sizzler. Let's take a look at why Fatis blocked Luciano from working with Eddie Murphy. In 1995, legendary artist manager and show promoter Copeland Forbes was 3 decades into a spectacular career which has seen him work with everyone that was reggae royalty, from Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Jimmy Cliff, down to the Mighty Diamonds, among many others. And as a seasoned logistics expert, he had rendered services to Fatis Burrell's company, Exterminator, and aside from a business relationship, they were family friends and had known each other since they were much younger. Copeland Forbes had been the go-to guy for many show promoters who were eager to book Luciano for concerts all over the US in those times. According to Copeland Forbes, he began to over time notice a certain reluctance from Fatis to truly exploit the American market, but the extent of his reluctance would shock him in no time. Copeland's younger brother, Junior Forbes, who was also a figure in the entertainment and music business, was over in New Jersey and called him one day from a recording studio and told him someone wanted to speak with him. And he gave the person the phone, who said, "Hi Copeland, this is Eddie Murphy." Forbes was surprised and had to confirm that it wasn't a prank. Apparently, Junior Forbes had been working on a project over at Eddie Murphy's studio, and when he found out that Junior was Jamaican, they got talking about reggae music, and Eddie would ask him about a new guy called Luciano, confessing that he was a big fan of the singer. And as said before, Eddie was a big fan of reggae music and told him he had written a song and was eager to perform it with Luciano. So on the spot, Junior Forbes told Eddie that his elder brother had a close partnership with Luciano's company and said he was the one who could put it together. So he picked up the phone and called him up on the spot. So Eddie told Copeland that he wanted to send a cassette with that song for Luciano to listen to, and Copeland told him excitedly to go ahead and mail it to Exterminator Records office. Once the call was over, he called Fatis on the phone and told him all about his conversation with Eddie Murphy, and to expect a package in the mail was a very big opportunity. So after a week with no news, Copeland called Fatis' office to ask if the package had arrived, and when he found out it hadn't been delivered, he waited for another 2 weeks before calling Eddie's office to find out why it hadn't been sent and to remind them that Luciano's management was waiting for a response. So Forbes would later track the package, which had been sent by a courier company, and found out to his surprise it had been delivered to Fatis' office several weeks earlier, and he went over there immediately to find out what was going on and was told that Fatis was out of town. But someone there told him that a FedEx package had arrived weeks before, but Fatis had tossed it under his desk without opening it. So when Copeland eventually met with Fatis and confronted him, Fatis responded that he didn't want Eddie and his team to think they were cheap. A week later, Junior Forbes called Copeland and told him Eddie Murphy's team had decided to cancel the project as it was obvious that they weren't interested. Copeland was simply furious with Fatis, who didn't even bat an eyelid when he heard it. And incredibly, it wasn't the last time that Fatis would block such opportunities for Luciano. So one day Copeland was over at Fatis' house watching basketball when the phone rang and Fatis was fast asleep, so Copeland would answer it. The caller introduced himself as Jimmy Jam, one half of the famous Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis production team, which had made music for many great R&B pop acts like Janet Jackson, Toni Braxton, and Boyz II Men. And after exchanging pleasantries, Jimmy Jam told Forbes that he was calling Exterminator Records because he and his partner were doing a soundtrack for the movie called How Stella Got Her Groove Back, a romantic comedy that was set in Jamaica. He and Terry Lewis were big fans of Luciano and wanted 5 of Jam Messenger's songs to be part of it. In excitement, Copeland Forbes flew out of his chair and woke Fatis up, telling him excitedly who was on the line and what he wanted. Fatis looked bored and totally unimpressed and walked straight to the kitchen to make himself a cup of tea. And after what seemed like ages, Fatis took the phone from Forbes and listened to Jimmy Jam for almost 10 minutes without saying a word, before interrupting him and told Jimmy Jam to talk to his wife, before handing the phone over to her. Of course, leaving Copeland Forbes dazed, speechless, and confused. And eventually, Luciano's slots on that soundtrack were filled by Maxi Priest, Shaggy, and Beanie Man. But that wasn't the last of it. American actor Malik Yoba was also a big fan of Luciano and wanted to use his song Lord Give Me Strength as part of a soundtrack in the movie he was making. And interestingly, he also wanted Luciano to play a character in the movie. But as part of that trend, Fatis also mishandled the negotiations and the opportunity was also lost. So now to answer the million-dollar question of why Fatis came between his own artists and such massive opportunities, 2 main reasons come into my mind. And the first, I believe, is Fatis' devout Rastafarian beliefs and the direction he wanted his label and artist to take. As mentioned earlier, Exterminator was ground zero of a rebirth of conscious reggae music with Luciano, Sizzla and other artists as the foot soldiers. It's very likely that Fatis was just being careful for Luciano not to lose his pious Rasta edge that could have happened from being exposed to all the trappings of fame and mega bucks in America. And the second reason could have been that Fatis was just being a shrewd manager who wanted to guard his most prized artists from being stolen from right under him by bigger players with a more international spread. But whatever the case, Luciano's rise to superstardom would continue until the end of the 1990s when he parted ways with Fatis and his label, though he would remain on good terms with him after the split. Interestingly, it was revealed recently in an interview by Luciano that he had no idea about all these lost opportunities until recently. He still holds his late boss Fatis in the highest esteem as his mentor and the person responsible for making him who he is today. And he considers all that's happened as simply the will of Jah. And honestly, I believe so too. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.